Welcome to Connect, the monthly series to connect you with your community. In each episode, we will speak with experts, innovators, and community members, and together explore themes of loneliness and social connections across Massachusetts. I'm your host, Sandra Harris, the state president of AARP Massachusetts and co-chair of the task force to end loneliness and build community. Joining me today is Dan Noyes, the executive director of Techozoom. Thank you, Dan, for being with me today.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Good. Dan, we're all hearing about the digital divide. What does that mean? And why is this important to us? And why is it important to our audience?
The digital divide is an entrenched problem we have in our society, where we have a whole lot of people who have access to resources and a whole lot of people that don't. And more, those resources are dependent on technology. So it might be telemedicine, it might be learning, it might be finding jobs, it might be managing your finances, it might be connecting with your grandkids. Unfortunately, there is a large percentage of people who are often hidden in statistics that just don't have access to those resources. And that is what that divide is.
Well, that's really, really critical because we have become an e-society. You know, to even go to Medicare, you need to go to their website. I mean, think about the dismal failure of the vaccine rollout and the registration for that, signing up for the vaccine. So for those people who feel that they are too old to learn this, or this technology thing has passed them by, what do you say?
I would say you're never too old. I'll give you an example. We have a gentleman who, our oldest graduate we've had in our program, 97 years old. He was a Tuskegee Airman, and in one of our courses, he learned how to, one, complain to the mayor, because he wanted to be able to send emails to the mayor, and two, he learned how to access health information from his doctor's office. I think that the statistics bear out that low-income individuals and marginalized communities, including seniors, are being left behind. And the data shows that, for example, you mentioned the vaccine rollout, 41% of people on Medicare, 41, wow, do not have access to a computer or internet to do telemedicine. Now, when the vaccine first rolled out in Massachusetts, the only way you could get that vaccine appointment was online. There was no phone number at the time. So immediately you're excluding thousands and thousands of older adults in Massachusetts and nationally beyond that, millions, from these critical resources, life-saving resources. And this isn't just true of medicine. You see this in education, where, for example, if you're a low-income black student, you are twice as likely not to have internet access as a white student. It plays out in job searching. Like, how in the world are you going to find a job these days if you can't get online? And then it could, like we've talked a bit about the intergenerational piece of this. How are you going to communicate with your grandkids? There's no picking up the phone and dialing the number. That doesn't work anymore. It's all video chat. It's all texting. And so if you want to be prepared for that, you need to learn these skills. And that's where a program like mine comes in, because we're very eager to give people the resources they deserve to access and achieve the goals they set for themselves.
You know, Dan, this is resonating so much with me. I have a 6-year-old and 9-year-old grandsons, and living in another state. And it was really, really difficult. And we all know that it's really best to have that one-on-one connection. Mm-hmm. But when you can't have that, especially during a time like COVID, you know, the next best thing is to be able to digitally connect with them. You know, I can go to my grandson's basketball games via
That's amazing.
FaceTime.
That's amazing.
I attend their basketball games on Saturday mornings. You know, we have seen a proliferation of instructions that are being going on, especially at senior centers. We have happening in libraries. Councils on Aging are doing fabulous work. Tell us more about Techozoom and the kind of work that you do and what's working. What do you think is working best of all?
Yeah, so our mission unofficially is essentially to help other groups achieve their mission. And so, for example, take the senior center. If the senior center says, we really want the people, our clients, the people that come in, to be able to connect with their grandchildren, say that's part of their mission, you have to do that digitally. So Techozoom comes in and partners with that organization and says, all right, we can get a computer or a device, an iPad to a senior. We can help them get internet. We'll help them sign up for internet. And then we'll help you train them on how to use that. And this is true of all of our programs. We'll do hundreds of older adults a year, but we also do courses for parents of 3-year-olds and everything in between. What is working, I think, is people are now seeing the relevance of this issue much more clearly than they did before the pandemic. I think the attitude of the internet and using the internet was a luxury still existed for a bit of time. I think now we're seeing it's not a luxury. This is electricity. This is water. And unfortunately, like thinking about that Medicare stat I threw out there, imagine for a moment if we said that 41% of seniors didn't have electricity, or 41% of seniors in this country didn't have clean running water. It would be a national emergency. And internet, I think, is moving towards that, where you just need these resources and these skills to survive. So what's working well, I think, is that people are paying attention. The current administration has poured a ton of money into this that's going to start flowing to the states, including Massachusetts. So I'm excited for that, to see more courses spring up, more resources, more internet options for people that are easier to understand. I think that's a big piece of this. And hopefully we can take a crack at this divide. And I'm not giving up hope. I'm excited.
Well, we know that this whole digital divide and resolving it, it's almost like needing to have a 3-leg stool, right? Not only do you need the devices, you need the training and the ability to be able to, literacy to be able to use it, but you also need robust broadband. And that's not happening. We talked about that, and especially in rural areas, we know that in low-income areas, there's a lack of connectivity and issues, and people just can't afford it. So how can people build advocacy for themselves? What do they do? What do you do if you don't have broadband connectivity in your area? What do you do if you don't have the resources to pay for it? Do you have what's going on? How are people being helped in that way?
It's a fantastic question, and one that there has been some movement on, which is good. Something that's interesting about the digital divide is if you look at where it exists in terms of broadband. In Massachusetts, which is not a very rural state, not like Wyoming or something, 90% of the people who are disconnected from internet live in urban areas. So what bothers me when we have this, not you and I, but when this conversation comes up, is people think of it as a rural versus an urban thing. This is a rural and an urban thing. There are lots of people in urban areas where there is infrastructure. So the fiber is there, the lines are there, but they can't get internet because of what you just said. It's too expensive. And there's lots of people in rural areas that can't get internet because, one, it's too expensive, but also the lines aren't there. This is a problem that they both need to be solved.
I want to go back. I know we've talked about this, but I want to go back to the idea that so many are feeling that this is just a technology or something that has just passed them by. I think it's very, very important for our audience to know what do you do, and how do you allay the concern or the fear that they might have. I can remember the first time I touched a computer, I was very, very careful because I didn't want to break anything. How easy is it, Dan?
What a great question. We had a woman once. She earned an iPad through our program, and she used Siri for the first time. When you hold it down and thing talks. And the person that was volunteering to help her made the mistake of saying, it's like there's someone living in your iPad. And she thought there was actually someone living in her iPad. So I think connecting with community organizations, I know libraries are such critical resources, senior centers, friends, family, and advocating for yourself, saying, I want to learn this. And just thinking about what goals you have for yourself. We had an older adult run through our program in South Boston, had lived in South Boston her entire life, had never left. And in our course, she was really interested in conservation. And so she did some exploring on the internet, and she found a beautiful park like a quarter mile from her house that she didn't know existed. And the internet opened that door for her. So it's not just about jobs, it's not just about finances, it's about health, it's about enjoyment, it's about connecting with loved ones. There's just so many opportunities there for people.
Okay, let's think about it from an intergenerational point of view. Do you use young people in your programming? How does it work? And what is the value of having this combined and not just be older adults working alone?
I think it's massive, and our Techozoom has been around for 20 years, and the foundation of our organization is a co-generational approach with families and students. And I've seen firsthand how important it is when you get two people together of different generations to have these conversations. In the school-based model I was just talking about, it's often, say, a middle school child, and he's in the course with his dad, and they're talking about a family budget for the very first time. I was in a course once where it was a grandmother raising her grandson, and she didn't speak English. But we have a lot of accessibility options in our program, including for people who don't speak English. And I'll never forget, this must have been like a 4th or 5th grade student. And I was walking out, and she grabbed my arm and paused, and she had tears in her eyes. And she starts talking to the son. And I don't speak, it was Spanish, I don't speak Spanish. And he looks up at me, and he does one of those 5th grade looks like, oh, my grandmother again. And he's like, my grandmother just wants to tell you how much she appreciates this course and really loves it, and thank you so much. And it was just and she's looking at me it was interesting because what he was saying didn't meet the emotion of what was seeing. But it was just an opportunity for her to get to know her grandson's teachers and to connect with other family members in the class. We see this across all of our programs. Sometimes we'll have courses that are just older adults, and then sometimes we'll intentionally have courses that are mixed. And there was one in particular where there was a woman, she was in her 90s, and she grew up in Boston her whole life. And she told me this story about how she met her husband at the Wang Center when she was 18, and it would have been 1938 or something. It wasn't the Wang Center back then. And she said he came up to her and asked her out, and she said no. She said no because she wanted to play hard to get, is what she told me. But the course, she brought in her wedding pictures from the 30s, and they used the computers to scan all the images and helped her create a online, a Google presentation that she could share with some family she had in California. I mean, that's powerful
It's very
stuff.
powerful.
And it was a group of people that might have been in their 30s helping someone who was in her 90s, connecting with family that were across the country.
That's very interesting. Oftentimes, I go to YouTube when I'm stuck and trying to figure something out.
We all do, yes.
And I know that a lot of organizations are using these videos, right? But Dan, I must admit, I need someone sitting next to me, right? How important is that? I'll watch a YouTube video and 2 or 3 times, and I sit in front of my computer and say, okay, what did they do? I think that you techies, just assume that we have information that we don't have. So how important is it to be able to match and have a combination of virtual kinds of offerings as well as one-on-ones?
I love that you just called me a techie, and I think my colleagues at Techozoom are laughing if they see this because they'll know I'm the least techie person in the office. I'm the one that's asking for help with the YouTube videos. I think your question is so good. It is essential for that coaching, that training that is in person. It can't be just talking to a static video because it doesn't allow for questions. It doesn't allow for building that relationship. It doesn't allow for the accommodations that some people need or the accessibility issues that people have. So our courses are all, up until the pandemic, they were all in person. We've done some virtual stuff because we had to. And now we're doing kind of a mix depending on what people want. But I think that there's something to this, that being in person with someone and building that relationship. This is why our courses are 15 hours, but we mandate that no individual class can be longer than 3. Because we think it takes time. Like, it can't just be a one weekend thing. This is something, especially for someone who's new, you need time to reflect and to debrief and to see that video, but then think about it later and have someone come back to you a week later and say, hey, let's watch it again and together. I think there's just something really powerful about that.
I would imagine when someone comes to you to take a course, you've got people coming from all different levels. You've got a person who's never seen a computer, never touched a computer, whereas there's someone who just wants to kind of enhance the skill set that they already have. So how do you navigate working with a group that's so diverse and and they're learning their skill set when they come to you? How does that work? Do you separate them? Are they all in one class? How does that work?
It is a fantastic question, and one of the biggest challenges that our instructors face. So just a quick note on our model is that we work with partner organizations on the ground. So libraries, community centers, schools, churches, homeless shelters, senior centers, whatever it might be. We then train staff at those sites to offer our program. They then recruit the people that they see every day. So the benefit of that is it attracts people to come into, say, a school that might not normally do so. But it also helps build relationships that we hope will be long-term, because we want them to take the 15-hour TGH course, but we don't want that to be it. We want people to keep coming back to these incredible resources like libraries or senior centers. Then our learners all get a year of internet from us if they need it. And then they also get a computer from us, and a new computer.
And they get to keep that computer? It's
yeah,
theirs?
they earn it. If a learner is putting in 15 hours of time for this, they earn that. This is not like a gift. This is something they've earned with the work they've done. That's how I view it. And to your question, I think our partner sites are really good at knowing and working with the people in the community that they serve about what they need, because they ask. This isn't me going in and saying, you need this. That's ridiculous. So in terms of how they differentiate things, oftentimes you'll have a site that'll run multiple courses, and they'll do their best to try and say, all right, if you've never touched a machine before, we're gonna put you in this one. Or if you've got some skills, like you might have an email address, we'll put you here. I will say that it is still surprising when I tell people that there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who don't know what Google is. So the need for that very basic is massive. I would love for us to get into the more advanced things, like how do I become a coder or things like that. But the need at that first, if you think of it as like a journey, that the first couple steps on that pathway that's why we're here.
So no one should feel intimidated, right?
No.
But you should just jump in it and just go for it, right?
And it should be fun.
Oh, fun is good.
No, it's gotta be fun. It's just like, I went to one of those paint night, those paint night things where I can't paint. I've never painted before, but it was so fun because I was kind of learning something new, having fun at the same time. There's no tests in our courses. There's no requirements. There's no evaluation of what you've learned, like the work that you do. This is more about, you have goals in your life. How do we help you get there?
Let's now take it over to our field reporter, Kasley Killian. Kasley, who do you have with us today?
Thank you, Sandra, for the introduction. I'm so pleased to introduce Arnetta and Carl Beatty. Arnetta is the board chair and president, and Carl is the executive director of Rounding the Bases. Welcome, Arnetta and Carl.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
So Rounding the Bases provides many valuable services in the community, and you were awarded the most prestigious Andrus Award from AARP. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're here today to talk to us about the work that you're doing in partnership with Techozoom, teaching older adults technology skills. Tell us about this work.
We started doing it because we took a class. They had a class. Arnetta wanted to teach some seniors from the church computer, and she set it up when Tech Goes Home, and we had an instructor come in. And at the time, I was working for Bay Cove, and I had some my clients that could benefit from it. So we did it on my day off, so I could bring my clients with us. And the instructor blew through the material so fast that 3 out of my 4 guys dropped out. I wound up tutoring all the students from the church, and I did the final projects for the other guy that I had and one of my friends. And after that, I got the idea that maybe if I could become an instructor, I could slow it down to the point that they'd be able to grab it.
And the instructor that Carl had, I took Tech Goes Home many, many years ago when my daughter was in middle school, and we came home with one of the big old desktop computers. So when Carl took his class in 2015, 2011, 2012, I just felt like the instructor just blew through the coursework, and the seniors didn't, like Carl said, didn't grasp onto it. So I said, we need to do a basic course where they learn about the Chromebook, where they learn how to go and do different search engines, different things with the city, along with what Technology Goes Home website offers. And it's been working great. We've had at least maybe 1,200 students, if not more. And we now have students that come back from all different classes.
Yeah.
Tell us about perhaps a story of one of your students who felt a bit reluctant to join the class at first. I know there's a lot of kind of fear and anxiety about learning new technologies. So perhaps is there a story you can share of someone who joined anyway and how that worked out for them, and what advice you might give to viewers listening in now who also feel reluctant?
That would be Dad Reed. Mm-hmm. But we call him Dad Reed. He's a father figure to a lot of men, mm-hmm. and especially he's old enough to be my father.
Yeah.
And we talked him into taking the class, and he was reluctant. And I remember he was in one of the first classes I taught.
Yeah.
Might have been the first class. Yeah. And I had been a new instructor. I was gung ho. I wrote out this lesson plan. I was really going to do it just like by the book, just like it's supposed to be done. We started the class. I had them do the pre-course survey. Mm-hmm. And I said, put your cursor in the address bar. And he raised his hand. He said, pardon me, well, what's a cursor? and you know, at that moment, it hit me. This ain't about nothing I planned. This is about what the class needs, mm-hmm. and how they can follow. I balled that lesson plan up on the spot, threw it in the trash, and I haven't written one since.
I love that. And so how did it work out for him in the end? Was he able to learn it?
He graduated, he made it. And I've told him on numerous occasions that I learned more from him than I learned from any other student, because he's the one that created the style of class that we had.
But there's one little story I wanted to tell you about a student. In fact, we had 2. We had a male and a female. They were both Spanish and didn't speak a word of English. And the Spanish woman came, and she brought her grandchildren to help her in class. And the Spanish gentleman came, and his daughter came with him every Saturday to help him. And the one thing we started doing is asking the students to, at the end of the class, to make a presentation. And he was so nervous. He was like, I don't understand. I don't know how to speak English. All I know how to do is speak Spanish. And I said, that's okay. Speak Spanish to us, because for the whole 6 to 8 weeks, we spoke English to you. So I need the students, the English speaking students, to understand what you have been going through for these 6 to 8 weeks. I want you to get up and make your presentation in your home language. And he did it. And then we had this last computer class, we had a gentleman that spoke only Turkish. And his daughter came and helped him. And at the end of the class, that he did the exact same thing. And they were so proud of themselves. And I was just like, yeah, this is what TGH teaches the instructors, and it teaches the families to do, is to connect to each other, no matter what language you come from.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Arnetta. Well, for anyone who might be listening in and is interested in taking one of these classes, where can they find more information? Do they go to your website, or how can someone join?
They can go to our website to look for the event, or they can go to techgoeshome.org. And all the classes that are upcoming will be on their website.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for the important work you're doing and for joining us today. It's been really wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, back to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Kasley, Arnetta, and Carl. Dan, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience?
Just that, don't be afraid of this. This is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. There's so many opportunities out there for connecting with grandkids, or connecting with your doctor, or exploring the world on the internet. And then reach out for help. Advocate for yourself. So you can check out our website, which is just techgoeshome.org. Talk to your libraries, talk to your senior centers, and have some fun.
Dan, this has been wonderful. Thank you for being with me today and for all of the critical work that you're providing in our community. We thank you, our viewers, for joining this conversation. We know there is still so much work to be done to bridge the digital divide you've just heard about. The pandemic has highlighted the need for digital skills and home-based internet as essential lifelines for older adults. We encourage you to join efforts in your local community to make sure that no one is left behind. We hope you're tuned in to our next month's episode of Connect. Until then, please visit inlonelinessma.com to learn more about the task force and how you can get involved. In particular, if today's episode interests you, be sure to check out our Digital Divide Initiative and the work of our Technology Learning Collaborative. Thank you.